How did you end up stepping into the CEO role?
Oh boy.
What's the one lesson you learned on your early stage that helped you to be on the position that you are in right now?
Just be really honest with yourself. If you say you can do something and you can't, you're going to get in trouble eventually.
Like almost every day you'll be facing to the different challenges.
Some pretty lean months when you're like, oh, are we going to survive? Like those types of moments in business. I've lived through it. I wish everybody could experience at some point.
I've heard about the chamber. So a lot of people think that Chamber of Commerce tend to support only like medium scales or high scale businesses. So what's your take on that? For the young entrepreneurs mostly, what kind of advice you would like to give them?
Don't be shy, first and foremost.
If you had to start it from the scratch now, what industry would you choose and why you think that would be the best industry? Hey everyone, welcome to One on One. I just had a great conversation whose journey really stands out. Mike Tate, the CEO of Regina and District Chamber of Commerce, went from the sales management to leading one of the most important business network in the region. With recession, rising cost, and lot of uncertainty. We spoke about all of that and even touched on the most common perception that the chamber is only supporting the medium level businesses or the high scale businesses. It was an honest and insightful chat. So let's get started with Mike Tate. Well, hello Mike.
Hello.
Welcome to One on One. Super glad to have you on the show.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for inviting me in.
Yeah.
I love the connection that Kapil gave me the introduction through our board of directors, and it's just great to connect with people that are doing cool stories.
Yep. And I think you have had such a dynamic journey as a sales manager in the beer industry and then stepping into the hospitality and then now I think the energy thing and now you are leading the Chamber of Commerce. That's such an inspiring story. So we'll definitely go step by step and then we want to know about your journey, how you end up here as a CEO of the Regina Chamber of Commerce. So back then, did you ever think that you'd end up in a business thing or was it different back then completely?
Yeah, I always thought I would, just given the fact I grew up in an entrepreneurial home. My mother and father co-shared a business together and they worked at it, which that's an entirely different process. I couldn't imagine working with my partner in a entrepreneurial setting, but they made it work and I was exposed to it. My father was a kind of a serial entrepreneur. He was always buying and flipping houses and he was always doing something, call it on the side, like before even side hustles were accepted maybe. My dad was doing that. And so that was always
so you grew
what
up
I grew
that
up with
kind of environment that you always learned the business things from the beginning, I guess, right?
Totally. And I even, I was a member, my father got me involved with the Wisconsin Country Club golf course. It's the only private club in Regina when I was 12 years old. And just seeing, I worked there, I cleaned clubs for members, I picked up golf balls in the driving range, did all the, the fun, challenging work when you're a young kid, but just seeing all of the business leaders that were members and own businesses and things like that. So I was exposed to that as well.
Right. Okay, cool. So from the beginning, like you started your career with the beer industry as a sales manager in that. So how was that like?
Well, I guess there's a lot I could say about the beer industry. I started as a sales representative as my first job and then worked my way up through various sales and marketing and managerial roles all the way up to the sales manager for Saskatchewan. So I've always said this about the hospitality business. It's something that I wish everybody could experience at some point because I think you have to be such a chameleon. You have to be so adaptable and flexible in your approach to people. Imagine being a server in a restaurant and having to adapt to a customer complaint or someone with an allergy or a specific reason why, or a screaming child, or someone who's perhaps under the influence, and you have to deal with that, or security, or overcapacity, or people waiting in line to get in. There's so many things, or maybe not getting as good a tip that you perhaps thought you should, and how how you have to react to that in a positive way and say, this, I'm in for this for the long haul and not for the, it's a long game, not a short
It's
game.
a long time game.
All of those things, I think, being in the hospitality business and calling on bars and restaurants to sell beer and to sell community programs and to give back to our community through events and whatnot. Molson has been a part of the country. And now that Hudson's Bay is closed, Molson, I believe, were founded in 1786. So I believe they're the oldest, company in our country. And so they've been around, they've been the fabric of a lot of events and a lot of people growing up. So I got exposed to calling on all different bars and restaurants and different styles of people and different locations of these bars, some in, call it rougher areas of the province and cities and some downtown. And I mean, you're just exposed to all kinds of different customers and consumers, and it was a pretty wild experience.
Community, maybe customers can
for sure. And we attended a tremendous amount of community events and supported them and gave back to them. So we really were pretty involved in our community.
Cool. Okay. And I've heard something that you had some kind of a very rare beer license. What's the story behind it?
Yeah, I mean, at Molson, I describe them as a marketing machine. They're marketing their brands, and really it's, you take a Coors Light and a Bud Light, and you probably would be maybe difficult to tell the difference between a lot of consumers who try it out, if they didn't know which was in the glass.
Right.
And so I really always wanted to know what were we actually selling? What was beyond the marketing, beyond the label, beyond the TV commercials and all of the marketing that they did. And so I just embarked on a journey called a Cicerone program. So for those that don't know what a Cicerone is, it's the equivalent of a sommelier for wine. So a sommelier expert, and there's a series of accreditation courses you have to go through, and so I'm I guess a certified beer server through the Cicerone program, and it took me a while to get. I didn't rush into it, and I took my time doing that, but I sure appreciate it. I guess educated some of our staff when I had a bar at the Cathedral Social Hall, and just tried to give them the 101 of what's inside the glass, again, beyond the marketing side, and what are they actually drinking, and the ingredients and the origins of those ingredients, and the different styles of beer, whether it's an IPA or a pale ale or a standard lager or a light beer, and all the differences of color and stouts and all the things that you see in in bars.
Those kind of little detailed things, I think they still help you on day-to-day life, I guess, right?
For sure. Everything we do is about detail, right? It's just a matter of how much you want to dive into it. So some people choose to, and others maybe just say that's not necessarily as important for me, and so they move on. But I always cared about what was behind the brand.
Behind the brand, right? No, that's good. And then after that, you stepped into the hospitality business.
Yeah, I mean, we took after being in the business throughout Molson, I think I spent about 11 or 12 years at Molson. And so I saw a lot of what I describe as great operators, really, really successful businesses. And I saw some that, perhaps could have used some improvements in areas. And I thought, well, maybe if there's ever an opportunity that comes my way one day that I would look into starting a business or starting a bar, right? And there was a prominent location in Regina that came up. It used to be called the Cathedral Village Freehouse. And it was around since 1996 for 20 years. And it had a lot of success, and it was part of my youth growing up as we attended.
So you opened that in 1996?
So they opened in 96, and they ran it for 20 years. And then, it just came to the end of its life, and we then took it over, bought it, and we put, a significant renovation in and brought it back to life. And it was something that a lot of the residents in the Cathedral area of Regina really thanked us for. It's because we did invest in their community and into a great restaurant, and we think we did a pretty great job of it over 7 years. And so I really enjoyed it. I love the fast pace. We got together with a group of partners that we, were kind of friends from the beer business back in the day, and thought we could, own and operate a bar. Which it's not for the faint of heart. It's a big challenge.
100%.
Significant. I mean,
it's like almost every day you'll be facing to the different challenges, I guess, in the hospitality.
It's never the same, right? And you've got lots of factors that are out of your control, like minimum wage increases and food costs, and your rent going up, or your financing terms, all the interest rates.
You have to go with the trend too, I guess, right?
Yeah, and are you maintaining your brand and staying on trend or staying on point? Because if all of a sudden the youth decide they're not going to show up at your place anymore,
Right.
where are you? Right.
Yes.
So it's a challenging business, but
And that's the toughest part, like in the business, like into any business, to maintaining your level and then growing from that level, right? That's a good part, but it's still the tough at the same time.
oh, it's a significant challenge, right? And like, where do we sit today? And but if we don't want to just sit stagnant,
Right.
we have to keep evolving. And so, where should we be investing? And when do you invest? And how to invest? And all it. Yeah.
Okay, no, 100%. And then the major shift you did into the energy line, that's kind of engineering thing. You opened up IT. It was an IT company.
Well, it was a so it's an electrical contractor business, electrical engineering and maintenance.
Okay.
It's not your residential electrical. It was all done on
Commercial.
what I describe as significant size power. So your industrial sized substations and pipelines and compressor stations and SAS Power, for example, who have significant size power and transformers and everything across the province, substations. We did a lot of the engineering design of those generation facilities, and then of course the maintenance to follow.
Right.
And we did some consulting around the engineering side. So I'll be honest, I was approached to lead their Canadian sales division, and I barely know how to change a light bulb. Like my level of experience in the electrical game was next to zero. So it was a big challenge, but I kept looking around the room, and then you start to feel at the start of it, you're like, I'm not contributing, I'm not really advancing. Why do they even bring a person like me in? And you have some doubt, you have some anxiety as to why you're truly there and what value you're offering.
Right.
And so that was a hard one for me. And it took me a good year to figure that out and adjust. And so, I finally figured it out.
So when you look back at your path and have you ever think like connecting dots kind of theory? So from where you started the things and now what you're doing, it's all been connected through whatever you learned from all these years and everything.
Oh, for sure. Right. I mean, I was always the first person growing up to put up my hand and say, I'm in.
Okay.
I'll do it. I probably don't know how to do it, but I'll figure it out as I go. Because the only thing I know about business or about, really anything in life is things are going to change.
Right.
Right. Business plans are going to change. That's the only guarantee I can give you. Okay. So I was like, well, if it's going to change anyway, I might as well just start and learn as I go. That was always my mindset, right? So from a leadership standpoint, I was always the first to say, hey, let's start something, let's create something, let's get people together, let's get people in the room. And then everyone will just kind of figure it out as we go. Because we believe in the ultimate goal or the where you want to get to. So that was always my philosophy. And just dive in, roll up your sleeves.
Right. And what's the one lesson you learned on your early stage that helped you to be on the position that you are in right now, or whatever you have achieved so far in the businesses?
Yeah, just be really honest with yourself, and that will reflect upon your team, whether you're leading a team or your colleagues, your customers, whatever. Just be really, really transparent with what you're great at and what you're not. Like I call it swords and shields. So if I can take a sword and slay something because I've got some confidence in that area or a skill set, hey, slay away. Okay. But if I have my shield up, that means I'm going to need support. I'm going to be honest about where I need support. Yeah. And I'm going to rally people around that to give me that support to be able to achieve the ultimate goal. And, if I look back at Shermco, for example, when I first started, again, that anxiety of not delivering and not feeling I was providing value. Yeah. Really what I did is just rolled up my sleeves and just got in front of our team when they were on site and they were doing work at a particular project that we were, invested in. I just continued to ask questions, because how can I sell the value of our company, particularly against our competitors, if I don't understand what our value is or what our people do, or, so I would just ask questions till it was probably nauseating to them at some point. They were like, why does this guy continue to ask all these? But then I gained their support. I gained some credibility with our internal team. Yep. They wanted to then help me. They wanted to get on side. And that's when faster growth happens. Right. So, and then customers too, like, why did you hire us to do this job? I would just ask the customer. Yep. And they would give me great feedback. And then you start to put all that together into a package, and then you can take that to market. Right.
So that's how you basically learn, and then
really, really just be honest with yourself.
Asking just the questions and be honest with yourself and of course with the team.
I mean, if you say you can do something and you can't, going to get in trouble eventually.
100%. Right. So just be honest.
That's right.
Right. So let's come to the chamber. I think a lot of people know about the chamber, but they don't really know what the chamber does. So if you can just tell us about the chamber part and how the chamber is helping the businesses and everything.
I mean, first and foremost, we're the single voice for all of our members. So we have almost 1,200 members, member businesses that are a part of the Chamber of Commerce, and we're that one voice that unifies, really creating a positive business environment for our membership. Whether that's taxation, whether that's policy, whatever that is, to allow them to not only exist but to start to grow and create jobs. And we're a business first organization. That's our primary focus. That's our lane. We don't want to color outside of that and do 25 different things and different priorities. If it involves business and it matters to our business community and our membership, then we're going to drive that. So we advocate with municipalities, municipal governments, provincial governments, and even federal governments to make sure that Regina is a very healthy place to not only do business, but start a business and allow yourself to grow. And that's our primary focus. And then the other side is just making connections from an event perspective. Right. So the challenge with it, I think, from a chamber perspective that I've noticed, and I think it's like anything, it'd be like asking someone, why do they live in a particular city? You're going to get, if you ask 20 people, you're going to get a bunch of different answers because people value different things. Right. Some might value the commute to work is only 12 minutes in Regina. Some might say they love the winters. Yeah. Some might say they love our summers, or they love being close to lakes. Yeah. Or they love the smallness of Regina, right? And the access.
Affordable at the same time.
It's affordability. There's all these different value equations. Right. So I've said that about the chamber is like some businesses might value events more than they value advocacy, right? So and that's part of our challenge, but part of our opportunity. So we just want to always make sure that we're providing appropriate member value, both from an event standpoint and an advocacy standpoint.
Okay, cool. And how did you end up stepping into the CEO role?
Well, I was a co-founder of a company called Greenwave Innovations in 2017.
Okay.
And it was an energy management startup. We started it right from ground zero, created a logo, great experience, and worked there for a number of years. But it got to the point where the company is continuing to grow and expand, and I was thinking, like, am I going to be part of that expansion, or do I just kind of take my enthusiasm on the sidelines for a little bit and just watch them? And so the opportunity came up at the chamber, and I thought, I've got a vast amount of business experience from a entrepreneur, startup, and a vast amount of experience across industry. Right. So if you look at like electrical engineering, for example, and these are international companies, and you look at a startup like Greenwave and energy management and building technology and carbon reductions and all these things that play a role. And then you take the hospitality side of it, and then you take the Molson side, where we learned just a lot of structure around how to structure a sales team and an organization and go to market and marketing and branding and events. And if you take all that experience, I felt I had a lot to deliver to the chamber and to our members. Just given the fact I've been there. I've signed checks. I've been part of cash calls. I've been part of like some pretty lean months when you're like, oh, are we going to survive? Like those types of moments in business. I've lived through it. And during COVID in the hospitality business, it was not a place that anyone wanted to be. Right. I mean, you didn't want to be a part of any business for that matter, for the most part. There were some that thrived, but so being part of those lean years really it makes you better.
There was, of course, the challenging times before the chamber, right? When you were dealing with the businesses and stuff. So what was the toughest time you faced during those in any of the businesses?
Yeah. I mean, again, the anxiety that I put personally on myself at Schern Co. and just getting through that and finding a way to work through that mentally was probably the hardest thing. Just you know your skill set, you know what you're good at, but then you start even questioning that because you're not delivering that value. So that was super, super challenging. But again, roll up your sleeves, ask questions, build credibility, build the knowledge base, educate yourself, and then use that toolkit to get better. So that would be a part of it. I mean, the COVID piece during the Cathedral social hall and managing, having to let go staff and watching, watching your business go from, I think we closed on March 16th, the day before St. Patrick's Day. Well, St. Patrick's Day is a significant revenue driver for
100%.
in bars and restaurants. And all of a sudden on March 16th, that was it. And we just turned the lights off and there's no more revenue, but you've got rent to pay and you're not sure what subsidies are coming that way, because it was such a fluid situation. It changed daily. It's really like the 100%. Tariffs today. It just continues to change.
Yes.
Right. And so again, back to, you just have to accept the fact that the only constant is change. That's what's going, I can guarantee you it's going to change. And those were some pretty wild times, but those are some good lessons too. Because we all, like, I know everyone says you're in it together. And I somewhat disagree with that, because depending on what job you have or what career you've chosen, or if you're a business owner versus a public sector, well, you're not in that together, right? Like,
no, 100%.
So it was just an entirely different process.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense. The second thing I've heard about the chamber. So a lot of people think that Chamber of Commerce tend to support only like medium scales or maybe the high scale businesses. So what's your take on that?
Well, I mean, small businesses are the lifeline of every community, right? If you take, I think there's a stat that was put out at the start of the tariffs that said for every dollar you spend locally on a small business, 66 cents stays in our community, and 11 cents stays in our community if you're supporting an international company for that, to that extent. So let's say that's somewhat accurate, given today's world and what we're faced. Like that, those are the key reasons why small business are the lifeline. Like we have to, and let's be honest, you don't need a pandemic or a sequence of tariffs to highlight the reason to support business, right? They're the reasons why we thrive as a community. They're the connections that we all make. And they're always the ones that get asked first to support, kids ball teams or hockey teams or whatever. And they always want to support them, but they're only ask in return is that you support us, right? If I'm going to give you a gift card to use at your fundraiser, all I ask in return is that you bring your team down for a lunch. Or you support our business in a way that, right? And those are the things that I think are critical. And a lot of the small businesses at the chamber, probably most of them, don't have the ability or the resources or the access to municipal governments, federal government, provincial governments, whatever, to be able to advocate on their behalf. So we become that opportunity and that voice for them, and we need to hear their stories. So we need to be open. We need to listen to what challenges they have, and then we need to take action. And that's the importance of small business. So no, I think there's around 7,000 small businesses in the greater Regina area. Right. We've got 1,200 members. We're always looking to increase that. Of course, we're a member-driven organization, but 95% of our businesses within our membership base are small.
As a small business owner, I've seen like many challenges or maybe many struggles as of now, right now, because of the recession and then tariffs. So how Chamber is navigating those issues for the small businesses?
Well, I mean, first of all, like currently it's an interesting process we're taking. We've partnered with a firm to develop our 3-year strategic plan, and we're in the process right now. So part of what we do is we interview key stakeholders across our community. So other organizations such as EDR or the Regina Airport Authority or the Regina Hotel Association or the Construction Association, because those are all, associations and businesses that support to our community, support to our business. If the airport's a strong and successful airport, that means we have appropriate flights for 100%. Our businesses to get to and from Regina, employees, logistics, all those things that really, events, tourism, that supports all of our restaurant business and our hospitality business. Those are all really, really important and part of the ecosystem. So, our job is to be that collective voice and take that back, right? And it's also our job to listen. If we're not listening to our membership, so the 3-year strategic plan really starts with stakeholders, and then it gets right into our members. And so members complete a survey. They tell us exactly how they feel about their value that they're receiving from an events perspective or from an advocacy perspective, and the value of the chamber, and why are they truly members, or why have they thought they might leave the chamber because they're not seeing that value, and what would make them, if they did leave and they wanted to rejoin, what would make them rejoin? what do they want to see and build that foundation and those pillars for us to continue to thrive in the business community. So that's the journey that we've embarked on.
Okay.
And we're going to be unveiling that, call it in mid Q2. So we're looking forward to that.
Cool. So a lot of small business owner don't know about the Chamber of Commerce. So how Chamber is doing those things from the awareness side of perspective. So the local business know more about the Chamber, and they would like how they can join to the Chamber.
We have to be at the table, right? So whether it's a discussion around downtown and how we make downtown more vibrant and we make downtown more safe and we create, I think currently there's 400 residents in downtown. How do we go from 400 residents to 4,000? And it's not just going to be one particular project or a central library being built or perhaps an arena being built one day or whatever it is. It has to be everybody at the table collectively that can contribute to that plan and that growth opportunity. So EDR has to be there from an investment attraction standpoint. You look at taxation, the city of Regina has to be there. And are there any incentives that we can offer to get investment attraction downtown and to get residents to want to be there? Can we get a grocery store downtown and some of the anchors that we need as to why people live downtown in other communities, right? We talked to the Regina Police about, a response team that can create better safety in our downtown and those types of things. So everybody who contributes to that plan has to be at the table. So that's part of what the Chamber can be is visible and there to offer our members' voices to being part of that plan and that growth opportunity.
Cool. Okay. And what are what do you think the most common mistakes the local businesses or any kind of businesses are doing right now here in Saskatchewan or Regina?
The common mistakes? Probably not tapping into the resources that are available to them.
Okay.
And again, that is part of the Chamber's opportunity, right? And the reason they're probably not tapping into some of the resources, whether it's some grant money or funding or education series or there's so much out there that it becomes a bit of a maze to navigate for small business, and they probably don't have the resources to do that.
Right.
So that is where the Chamber can help them navigate those, and provide that education around and provide that consulting and service and advocacy to help them thrive, because they're busy doing the doing of their business. They're getting up every day and trying to keep the lights on and trying to keep people employed and trying to manufacture things or whatever business they're in, or if you're a bar restaurant, you're trying to keep bums in chairs, right? And those are the really important things that our members are doing. And they just don't have the time perhaps to do the other things that might be available to them that might make their business easy.
Right.
I think marketing is such a big word and it means a lot to different people and different industries, of course. But I think there's a lot of education around marketing that that could be like you just look now, like even the Chamber. I say a big part of our role is to help elevate our members' brands.
Right.
Around digital communication or whatever strategy we're going to help support. But if a new member joins the Chamber, how do we take their brand and elevate their message and their story to the rest of our membership, to give the rest of our membership and the rest of our community an opportunity to support that new business?
Okay.
Right. So entrepreneurship is a significant area where we can support, and in terms of that education and startup, a lot of entrepreneurs will have a great idea, but then they don't know where to take that idea or even how to start. And so we can start to navigate and help them, create a bit of a roadmap and a playbook.
Yes. So basically, if whosoever's starting their business or they are just started, what are the things they should know at the beginning? So those kind of things, I think Chamber will navigate. For the new entrepreneurs.
It starts with a conversation,
right?
And it starts to go from there. We have access to resources and knowledge that we can certainly guide them in the right direction if given the opportunity.
Right. Okay. The next question is for you. If you had to start it from the scratch now, what industry would you choose and why you think that would be the best industry?
That's super interesting that you say that. Oh boy. I would definitely be in sales. I would probably work for myself if I was in sales. And I think I would probably lean on the network that I have, that I've created, that because it's hard work to create a network. Right? It really is. And everyone thinks not everyone, but I think there's some people that think, how did that person create that network? Like I get asked all the time, how do you know everybody?
Right.
You know, we'll go out and it's like people come up and say hi and all that stuff. It's like, well, because I've intentionally networked my whole life. And so I would probably take that network and be a mortgage broker or something like that, where I could really leverage the network. And I think you could build a groundswell pretty quickly.
Right.
And perhaps make some good money.
Cool. Yeah, either a mortgage broker or realtor. You can
A
do
realtor,
like,
sure. Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I think the mortgage brokers, so you wouldn't have to work as many nights and weekends.
Right.
But
No,
yeah, I
that's
think I just look at our local community and our network and where I've seen others have success by, you know, by possessing a big network. And
Yeah.
that comes to mind anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And so Regina is also like changing in a good way, right? So it's a
How so?
I came here as a student in 2018. So basically, I started my production company in 2021. But before, from our community, nobody was doing the commercial marketing, commercial filmmaking, and stuff.
Yeah.
So I was the first person to start that thing, and nobody was aware here in our community that this kind of thing they can utilize to grow their businesses. So they understand the value for those things. After the COVID, of course, they learned a lot of things. So I got so much support from the community to run my business. So from that perspective, I think Regina is doing good. So
Okay.
far. But yeah, if you've got anything to say on that.
Well, and I ask because I'm super curious. Like I always want to know people's opinions, whether it's like, I'll ask you this as a young person in our community, you know, when did you get here?
2018.
2018. Okay. So you got here in 2018. And of course there was the challenge during the pandemic, but if you were in charge of, you know, call it a group that were navigating the opportunities of Regina downtown, where would you start in terms of creating some vibrancy for our downtown community?
Well, I mean, was to more like for the vibrant.
Yeah, like creating some investment attractions, some businesses, a
Yes.
reason for people to call it leave the suburbs, right?
Right.
And go downtown and experience downtown and
Yeah.
and feel that they can safely with their families and whatnot.
Right. So I think I would definitely the local businesses the first thing to start up with. I don't know how the people contribute to the downtown diversity, or maybe the to contribute towards the downtown side, but well, yeah,
It's a
I
hard
don't
one,
know.
isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Because there's so many moving parts.
right.
You've got residential side and trying to attract visitors from a tourism standpoint, but you have to have
Yes.
you have to have events going on to attract that. You
Events
have to
would
have
be the-
restaurants. You have to
right.
have right.
Yes.
You have to have a safe community.
Right.
You have-
Because why would they choose to live or visit in Regina? Because there is nothing to explore here in Saskatchewan for the people who are living outside of the Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
So why they would visit, or why they would
Right.
like,
What's the why?
right?
Yeah, and that's the hard part. Like I don't proclaim to have the answer, but
Okay.
we get asked a lot. I think, you know, every citizen in any city they live in want to be part or want to be proud of, you know, their
they are.
facilities and their downtowns, and they want to see them thrive and be vibrant, right? And so
Okay.
it's one of those things I ask a lot of people. It's like if you were running,
get a chance
you know,
to.
yeah, right, or for that matter, if you ran the chamber, what would be the first thing you'd do, right? Well, okay, we would create better member value. Well, what does that mean, right? And so I'm always curious because, again, I'm 90 days into the job and still navigating my way through. And as we continue with the strat plan, we want to hear from our members because that's really what's going to drive us for the next 3 years and of course beyond.
Yes.
Right?
So did you get any kind of things to like to work on for the downtown, like any kind of ideas?
Yeah, I think it becomes a matter of getting everybody at the table together, right? I think if every key stakeholder that has the ability to contribute to the advancement of it should be at the table together.
Right.
And I think at times we get siloed, right? So you'll have a project going on that will benefit that particular project itself and some citizens, but maybe not all. You know, all stakeholders if they were at the table, I think there's a better opportunity to advance it in a
Right.
certainly in a more efficient way, but a faster way. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And also the challenge too, like from a chamber, is you look at the history. So we've been around 140 years.
Oh, wow.
We've done a lot of different things throughout, but the one thing that you always have to maintain, so you have to celebrate your tradition, but tradition doesn't mean that it's going to work today. So
Yes.
sometimes you have to let go of certain traditions.
Yes.
And what are the non-negotiables at the chamber? Well, first off, it's business, it's advocacy, it's
Yes.
creating an environment that allows our businesses
Right.
to flourish.
Yep.
And the other side that I believe in is, and a number of my members or our members have given me this feedback. It's like the amount that we are able to give back to our community, whether it's through charities or initiatives or community support,
Yep.
whatever they're able to give back is directly related to how much success they have in business, right?
Right.
If you don't have success in business,
Then
you-
there's no point.
there's no extra money kicking
Extra
around
money.
to be able to support these initiatives, and they want to handle all the requests that they get, or they want to create their own community give back strategy.
Right.
But again, you can only do that if you have the resources to do that.
Yes.
And so that's where the chamber has a big role to play. Is if we create that positive environment, then the community will benefit.
Right.
Right. So again, it's about staying in our lane.
Yep.
If it's business, then we're involved.
Yep.
If it matters to business in this city, in our province, then we have to be involved.
Yes. We'll have to sit on the chair first and then discuss, of course.
Absolutely.
The first thing needs to be ask the questions, discuss all of the things, and then be part of it, and be part of the community. That's what I think, and I learned, because even from my end, I came here as an international student, and after that I did good amount of job. Like I worked for printing company. I worked in a warehouse. I did job in the banking. I was and at the same time, the fourth thing I was doing at the same time, I was working with a realtor, and at the same time I was working in a bank.
Yeah.
I was doing the property management, and I was doing this side hustle, which is my full time now.
Yeah.
So the same time I was doing all of these things, and community, of course, helped me a lot to grow the business.
Yeah.
And it's going good. But yes, we'll need to, I think, come all together, support each other. I think that's how we all grow together. Right.
There's a perfect example though, like what I spoke earlier about is just try new things.
Right.
Like so you work at a bank, so there's financing. Okay.
Yes.
You probably aren't an expert in financing, but
No.
you took the plunge and started to learn, right?
Yes.
And you took pieces away from it, and that probably helps you today
100%.
in the business you're running. And then you look at real estate, and you're like, well, you're probably not an expert in real estate, but hey, you're probably smarter than you were.
I'm a realtor too.
Well, there you go, right? So okay, but when you first started, you probably weren't an expert. I'm always the first to say, give something a try.
Right.
Don't wait for perfection.
Right.
It's like, oh, I'm now ready. Well, you're never really ready.
Never ready.
Right? So just dive in with both hands and both feet and say, I'm going to figure this out as I go, because it's going to change.
100%.
Yeah.
Yes. No, I get it. Since you stepping into this role, what's the one initiative or the moment you are especially proud of?
Oh, one. I mean, first off, the one would be stepping into the role and just taking on the challenge or rolling up my sleeves. It's been a whirlwind 90 days.
Yeah.
I was really excited when of course I got offered the role, but most importantly, the support of the board and then you get into the opportunity to do a 3-year strategic plan and be a major part of that to help create it. That was really what enticed me to it. And one thing, I mean, I think just
Be more than, of course.
not being shy, not being fearful of getting into a room and not having the answers for our members, but learning, right? Because that's really what I'm doing right now is I'm observing, learning, and listening to be able to then help create our...
It's a lifetime thing, I guess, right? The learning and observing.
It is, yeah. I mean, and we need a specific direction, and so we're creating that right now. But the other side is you can't have too many priorities. We don't have the resources as an organization at the chamber. We have 6 employees, right? So we don't have the resources to do 15 things really well.
Right.
We have the resources to do 4 or 5 things really well.
Okay.
that's keep us within our mandate. And that's going to be really important for us going forward, is just narrowing our focus and staying within our lane. But one thing, I guess, just taking on the role. And reporting to a board is always a challenge too, because you've got, every board member has their perspective and has their skill set and runs their own business and has their feelings on how, how they think the chamber should run and things like that. So those are always big challenges, but really exciting opportunity too.
Right. And one last question. If somebody is starting for the young entrepreneurs mostly, what kind of advice you would like to give them that how would they, of course, the patience and everything needs to be there, but what do you recommend them, or what kind of advice you would like to give them to do well in a good time?
Don't be shy, first and foremost. I get approached quite often. I mean, you're a perfect example, right? You connected with Kapil.
Yeah.
You reached out to me. I took the time to have a coffee with you. Yep. I learned about your business, and here I am. Right. If that's a perfect example of don't be shy. Because if you were shy, I wouldn't be sitting here.
Yeah.
And so don't be shy, but start. Okay. Start something. Our community, one of the greatest parts about Regina is the access to business leaders, community leaders, and a support system and decision makers that will absolutely help you if you reach out. Right. I mean, I've been approached by so many people throughout the years that I'm always willing to give my time back. I'm not saying I have all the answers, but I'll certainly have a conversation with you. Right. And I truly believe there's a significant size network of people in roles like myself that are willing to give back their time to budding entrepreneurs, to budding, people that just need a little bit of a nudge in the right direction, or a little bit of education or some mentorship. I'm such a believer in just don't be shy and start, because again, it's going to change. So if you're waiting 100%. For that perfect time, there's never going to be. Right. So just buckle up, go start, and you will figure it out as you go. Yeah, and it's a great feeling as you do.
Yeah, 100%. Yes, no, 100%. No, yeah, Mike. So that was a great conversation, and thank you so much for sharing all this insight. And I definitely know that this is going to help to a lot of people who are individuals. They maybe whether they are just trying to start their journey or they already in the business, it's going to help them a lot.
I really appreciate it. And congrats to you guys and your success and your business and your journey. And thanks for allowing us to share our story.
Oh, 100%. Thank you so much for that.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
That was such a refreshing conversation with Mike Tate. It's not every day you get to hear that kind of clarity and openness from someone leading at that level. If you are a small business owner or just trying to figure out how to navigate today's business climate, I hope this gave you some real value. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.